How does affect theory impact our understanding of the sense of belonging within cult fandoms? First of all, what is affect? According to Grossberg, affect is closely tied to what we often describe as the feeling of life. Affect is what gives colour, tone, texture to our experiences. In this way, affect theory is quite a broad study, which can be applied to many different areas of academia. And so what is cult fandom? According to Sexton and Mathish, cult cinema is an experiential test tube for culture, meaning that it explores unconventional cinematographic techniques and themes. On the other hand, Jenkins gives a well-rounded history of the concept of a fan, which appeared in the late 19th century to negatively describe theatregoers who admired actors rather than the plays themselves. With that, cult fandom encapsulates a certain audience which, although stigmatized within mainstream society, feels passionately about cult film. So in this audiovisual essay, we will first delve into phenomenology and the embodied experience, after which we will focus on affect as a pre-personal entity, and then affect as a shared experience. Finally, we will discuss affect as a dynamic force for mutual transformation. The embodied experience. In order to ground our upcoming analysis of affect theory in regard to cult film, it is key to gain a phenomenological understanding of the cinematic experience. Academics Sobchak and Barker both have studied the embodied nature of the cinematic experience. In their book The Address of the Eye, Sobchak defines the film experience as a system of communication based on bodily perception, and a vehicle of conscious expression. They imply that film viewership is not a passive state, but rather one of perception, in which the viewer is identifying a number of elements of the film throughout its course, all of which add up to a clear expressed image which impacts the viewer. Therefore, the viewer is not merely a passive recipient of information, but actively engages with the film on a physical and sensory level. In fact, Barker argues that meaning and significance emerge in and are articulated through the fleshy, muscular, and visceral engagement that occurs between films and viewers' bodies. The concept of this in-between space is crucial for understanding how films can evoke affect. This also resonates with Deleuze's concept of the affection image, which we'll delve into in a minute, which highlights the importance of the receptive body in experiencing affect. Affect as a pre-personal entity. So what is Deleuze's affection image? Well, according to Colebrook, Deleuze defines 3 orders of image: perception image, affection image, and finally, the action image. Deleuze's concept of the affection image emphasizes that affect is a pre-personal, pre-cognitive force. It's about a felt movement or vibration that precedes conscious thought or action. Colebrook explains the affection image as the pause or delay, which is neither a subject seeing an object nor an action transforming a situation, but an absorption of movement by an inactive but receptive body. As such, this felt movement or vibration is characterized by its potentiality. It may lead to an action, but it also may not. It becomes an energy which pulls away from the pre-given and opens up a realm of possibilities. One of my favorite quotes which sums up this concept is the following: affects are not actions or powers exerted, but powers too. Is not cinema the power to feel fear, desire, tragedy, or melancholy, without oneself being afraid, desirous, afflicted, or depressed? And so in this vein, is not cinema the power to feel
anticipation?
Of course, affect is a concept which will always be difficult to define and explain. However, understanding it in relation to film as a pre-personal force enables us to fathom its intensity, especially when it comes to fans' affective link to a certain cult film. Indeed, this aligns with Harrington and Bealsby's observation that fan pleasures can be so intense that it almost cannot be articulated. These intense feelings, often shared within a fan community, contribute to the group's acute sense of belonging. And so, affect as a shared experience. Sobchak also emphasizes the multiple viewpoints involved in cinema: the director, the camera, the screen, the viewer, highlighting the dynamic and interactive nature of the cinematic experience. They identify a mutual possession of the experience of perception and its expression. which they refer to as the intersubjective basis of objective cinematic communication. Everyone individually perceives a collective perception of the individual expression at hand, meaning that although the film experience elicits a unique affective response within each aforementioned receptive body, all the receptive bodies are connected via the overarching piece of cinematic text which elicited those responses. Another dimension of note regarding this intersubjectivity is Ahmed's concept of the contact zone. In their book, The Cultural Politics of Emotions, they posit that emotions are not simply internal states of individuals, but rather that they create and maintain boundaries between individuals and the social worlds around them. As such, Ahmed describes the contact zone as a boundary which appears at a specific moment of contact. The contact zone is sculpted and impacted by a multitude of past experiences making up the individual social and historical context, and in turn it shapes their feelings and emotional response to various interactions. Ahmed defines that contact zone in relation to interpersonal interactions. However, it can also be applied to the film experience, especially in light of Sobchak's description as a system of communication. Furthermore, based on Sexton and Mather's introductory description of cult film, one of the genre's main characteristics is its appeal to a countercultural audience. Due to the genre's explorations of themes which went against the mainstream, appealing to a social group which stereotypically did not fit in the mainstream mold. One could argue that although every individual's experience watching a cult film is subjective and shaped by their unique contact zones, the countercultural nature of the cult film audience suggests a greater likelihood of shared affective responses compared to other film viewing groups. This leads us to understand the wider sense of belonging within the cult film community. With similar affective responses, the fandom is also inclined to discuss what they've seen and relate to one another, whether in person or through online forums, for example. This aligns with Grossberg's observation that affect emerges from relations between practices. Within a fandom, the shared experience of viewing, discussing, and creating around a film fosters a unique interplay of perspectives and affects. Affect as a dynamic force for mutual transformation. Sobchak's view that the cinematic experience consists of a mutual possession of the experience of perception and its expression, and their concept of intersubjectivity of the objective, suggests that the cinematic experience can be transformative on an individual level. By combining this view on the embodied experience with Deleuze's concept of affection image, as well as Ahmed's affective contact zone, we can understand how shared cinematic experiences within a fandom can generate powerful affective resonances through mutual transformation between the film text and the audience. Not only does the film's affection image transform and shape the viewer's contact zone, but it also transformed the text, which elicited the affective response in the first place, through the ways in which it is consumed, shared, referenced, and played with after being viewed. This resonates with de Certeau's every reading modifies its objects. If we identify fan engagement as unique readings themselves, then each fan interaction and/or discussion creates new meanings within the original film text, therefore changing its nature and how it will be interacted with in the future. The shared affective experiences within a fandom can lead to transformative experiences for older fans as well as newer fans, and contribute to the ongoing evolution of the fan community itself. In fact, Hills asserts the following: affective play creates culture by forming a new tradition or a set of biographical and historical resources which can be drawn on throughout fans' lives. With this, the aforementioned countercultural audience is able to create a new culture of their own, creating a community of individuals who abide by their own new set of rules. Shared viewing experiences, rituals, and the creation of fan-made content all contribute to the circulation and amplification of affect within a fandom. Affect theory helps us understand that belonging within fandoms is not solely based on shared beliefs or ideologies. It's deeply intertwined with shared affective experiences, the feeling of life that emerges from collective engagement with texts and other fans. So by merging phenomenology with affect theory, we have gained a deeper understanding of how the embodied and affective dimensions of cinematic experience contribute to the sense of belonging within cult film communities. This framework allows us to move beyond a purely cognitive understanding of fandom and recognize the significance of emotional and embodied engagement in creating a sense of belonging. Thank you.
science fiction double feature. Frank has built and lost his creature.